What's going on, draft fans? Welcome to Cover One, the NFL Draft Podcast, the live edition, week one. We have finally made it. DP, my man, Damian Parson on the other side of the glass. How we doing, brother?
Hey, we're doing good over here. You know what I mean? I'm doing great, bro. It's we got a nice slate of games tonight. Saturday's loaded of college football. Shoot, tomorrow we have college football again. This is like this. I thought last week was like Christmas. This is like Christmas, like where I'm not leaving the house. No one call me. Just leave me to myself and my television.
No doubt about it, man. I mean, we've got stuff going tonight. I mean, we're talking Ohio State, Minnesota, going to be a great game that we're going to jump into here momentarily. I mean, we were just talking before the show, Notre Dame, Florida State on Sunday. We got Ole Miss and Louisville on Monday night. Our boy Matt Corral is going to be live under the lights for Monday night. I will definitely have my breakdown. It's already ready. I just need one of our editors to push it through. You guys, of course, can get that at cover1.net. You got something coming out tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, on some prospects. You want to highlight that real quick before we get into anything?
Yeah. I looked at the slate of games for tomorrow night, and I pretty much just went through some of the draft prospects that I'm interested to see, and I think fans should be interested to look out for as well. Through a couple of games, I will give you a spoiler alert. There are a few running backs on the list. It wasn't by the design, but it just kind of happened to fall in the fate's hands that me, the running back guy of Cover One, would make sure to mention quite a few running backs. So, it's going to be a fun piece. It's, like I said, it's a fun weekend ahead of us. I'm excited. Oh, looks like looks like it did it to him again. But listen, guys, we appreciate everybody. Shout out to said Doogie Church, whatever. Shout out to you for joining us tonight, this evening. So we got games that start at 7. So we won't hold you guys too long, but we want to break some, talk about some of these games and these prospects, especially highlight Saturday. We have some juicy matchups Saturday, Russ.
No, we really do. And don't mind me as my connection went in and out there. I was connecting to my hotspot on my phone because I don't trust my Wi-Fi, and I don't want to lose connection. But yeah, no, we got 7:00 game. We got Coastal Carolina going off against the Citadel, which, I mean, let's be honest, the only maybe real reason why you're watching this game is because you like football and you like the NFL draft, or maybe you're a betting man and you like that spread at 33.5. I mean, that's a big number. I'm not taking that price, but Grayson McCall is our boy. I like this guy quite a bit. I think he's pretty solid, and he's going to come in, and we'll see what he does. I mean, overall, we're not gonna get into every single game. I hope people know that. Like Utah, Weber State, probably gonna leave that for another day. But Grayson McCall, I gotta throw it out there because I think he's got a little blend of Josh Allen to his game, and I'm pretty pumped to see what he does. I'm really pumped to see what that team does because Coastal Carolina, many people thought was one of the better teams across the country last year, and they were, right. They finished in the top 25. Here they are, preseason top 25. I don't know if they're going to necessarily finish that same way. We'll see. But but before we get to Ohio State, Minnesota, any of those games between 7 and 8 that really catch your eye and you're like, hey, I'm watching this game because this prospect or whatever?
So I'm definitely going to tune in to Coastal versus Citadel, mainly because of my guy, cornerback for Coastal, D. Jordan Strong. Sat down with him, built a nice rapport with the young man. Great, gritty kid, feisty, aggressive. He's humble, and he's so intelligent and knowing what his weaknesses, what his strengths are. He's a lot of fun. And the thing about it was last year he was their lockdown, their shutdown corner. His game, I love watching him against BYU. And we talked about that week that was the week they were supposed to play Malik Willis and Liberty. And due to COVID, Liberty had to cancel their game. He said they found out probably at 10, 11 o'clock on Wednesday night that they were facing BYU on Saturday night. So he was like, it threw off his whole week trying to prepare, because he said, I'm usually watching receivers, getting their mannerisms and all their stuff they do pre-snap. He said, I had to watch Zach Wilson the whole time and figure out what he likes to do and everything. And he's like, understanding what they do off of motion. They throw the bang 8 off the motion on play action once they get, for their shot play, once they get to the 50, which was true if you watch the tape. So it was a lot of fun. And the crazy part about it was he was productive. Had a couple interceptions, forced fumbles. He's a feisty tackler, but he had I think it was a torn labrum. He played with all season, and he said the labrum was actually messed up the prior season, but he thought they thought it just naturally healed. So now he's fully healthy. When we did the interview, he had his arm in a sling because he just was coming off surgery. So yeah, I'm excited to see him. So yeah, it's Citadel, but I'm just ready to see what he's got in store for a healthy season. I will tune in a little bit to the Buffalo Wagner game. I want to see Buffalo run my guy Kevin Marks Jr. No more Jared Patterson at the running back position to sit in front of him. No more of that. It's Kevin Marks Jr.'s show. I'm excited to see him. I want him to be fed. I'm talking give him the rock in every type of way, especially that zone scheme they run, inside and outside zone scheme. So I'm excited to see him.
Well, I will say Buffalo has a nasty offensive line. They lose their center, Mike Nowitzki, who goes to Kansas. He transferred there. But I really like Mike Nowitzki. Don't get me wrong. And I really like that offensive line. So, I think ultimately you're right. You're going to see a lot of that inside-outside zone stuff because they do it so well. I will say NC State, South Florida, and I don't mean to hit up the Carolinas. I'm pretty sure that's where you live. So yep. I'm hitting up the Carolinas here. But I'll be honest, NC State, maybe it's because I've still got like the Ryan Finley hangover or something, but I got a sweet spot for that team, and maybe it's just because those uniforms they busted out the other day are absolutely disgusting. I mean, those things are nasty. But they got some dogs, man, up in the trenches from Grant Gibson, who might be one of the best centers, if not the best center in the country. Their left tackle Tyrone Riley at 6'6", 305. Very interesting offensive lineman in that offense and in that scheme, and I think that they're going to have an opportunity to show what they can do with not so many games on tap today. I mean, obviously we have quite a few, but there's not as many big games. You're not really competing for that Saturday afternoon slot where you've got, for example, Penn State, Wisconsin. Not everybody's going to pay attention to all the games on Saturday. But you got Thursday, somebody's going to be tuning into that. So I think they got an opportunity to catch some attention and really start this thing off on the right foot. I like Gibson. I like his overall physicality. I like Riley because of his length, and I think there's a lot to work with his overall athleticism. So between those two guys, I'm just intrigued into that matchup overall. I'm hoping, there's any major weather delays. I know the entire East Coast is getting bombarded with, Hurricane Ida and everything else that has been hitting the East Coast with the storm and tropical storms. I mean, it's hurricane season, but yeah, NC State is a team to certainly pay attention to. Do you have anything else to add before we jump into Ohio State, Minnesota? Because I think that's a lot of the reason why people are on this stream tonight.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I want to throw out for that game, for the North Carolina State game, South Florida game. Of course, the two prospects I'm looking for in that game, just off rip, Zonovan Knight. Running back number 7. Our boy. I want, again, similar to Kevin Marks, I need them to feed this young man and give him the rock. Another guy who meshes well and just a great feel for zone blocking, zone running schemes. Zonovan Knight, explosive, strong, kind of a high upright runner at times, but he knows when to lower the shoulder and lower the boom. And then I'm typically I'm good with names, but I haven't tried this one yet. I believe he's their offensive. I think he's their left tackle. Ikem Ekwonu. Close. I know I'm close for sure. I know I'm close. So I know I'm close.
I'm glad you take the ball and run with it because I'm not doing it, dude. I'm not doing it.
I had to give it a shot. He's six foot. I believe 6'4", 320. Watching him on tape, he's aggressive. He's physical, heavy-handed in the run game. He's going to reset the line of scrimmage. He's going to move bodies. In the pass game, I want to see him just be a little bit more fluid, a little bit more consistent with his technique. But I'm excited to see him and Zonovan tonight. And I think they're going to. I think this game could be competitive, to be honest with you, South Florida. I think it could be a pretty solid competitive game. Players on both teams, both sides of the ball. But I'm really excited to see those two prospects for NC State for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun night of football, no doubt about it. And those are just some of the games before the 8 o'clock game and maybe the game of the day, the game of the night. It'll be live on Fox, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Minnesota, Ohio State. And the star power in this game, I don't think people really realize the number of prospects that are in this game alone. And it's not just Ohio State. I mean, Minnesota's got some talent on their offense, and they got players that we could talk about. And I mean, Tanner Morgan, their quarterback, has been in this system for a long time. Obviously, there's no more Rashad Bateman. There is no more Tyler Johnson in this offense. So who is he going to feed who's he going to feed the football to? Is it Chris Ottman-Bell? Is it somebody like, Mohamed Ibrahim out of the backfield? He's a dog as a running back. I mean, yes. I'm sure we're going to break down film on him eventually. And Tanner Morgan's just like that pro-style quarterback that might be decent or might just be a career backup. You don't really know. He might get cut by the time we get into the first week of the preseason next year. But he's just so intriguing because he runs their offense so well. And Minnesota, I mean, the spread on this game is like 13.5. I think that's a little high. I still like Ohio State with that spread if I'm betting on it to anybody that's in here for betting. But from the prospect perspective, Minnesota, they got some players, but really Ohio State, we all know, I mean, they're loaded. There's no reason to why Ohio State doesn't win the Big Ten.
No, you're spot on with that. And I think the real big thing for me, and especially in this game, like you see, brought out my guy Mohamed Ibrahim, him against that front seven, and for Ohio State, they're introducing a new quarterback. Justin Fields is Chicago Bear. C.J. Stroud is the guy, and they have arguably the best receiver tandem in the nation with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. Garrett Wilson right now, to all my guys that know me and know how I feel about him, he's my wide receiver 1 right now, and I just love everything about him. He's a technician. He's explosive. He's crafty. He's versatile inside and out game. He brings all of that to the table. I can't remember who I heard say that they said that he reminded them of Stephon Diggs, and then it kind of gave me I kind of saw where they were coming from a little bit with it. I think Diggs may be a little more explosive than him, but this season I think Ohio State has literally 2 first-round receivers on their roster, just like that's in for this draft because they're loaded at receiver. They have depth with young 5-star talent, 4 and 5-star guys. Master Teague, seeing who they run at the running back position. He was on, I think, Bruce Feldman's freak list. I think he was sub 4.4 in the 40. He's rocked up, physical guy. Kind of remind me of an older Ohio State running back, Beanie Wells from back in the day. That big. Wow,
that's a name. You're going down the well right there. No pun intended. But my
yeah,
goodness.
Man. Listen, I remember watching Beanie Wells. I'm like, man, he's a truck, man. He's a train out there. He just was running through the Big Ten, running through everyone for the most part. But there is a young, I was about to call him a rookie, Travion Henderson. I believe he's a freshman this year. Explosive, his footwork is phenomenal. Quick, violent feet. His feet are electric. For a way he can get in and out of breaks, in and out of cuts. I believe he gives you something in the passing game that Master Teague doesn't give you. So I'm excited to see how they use him to start the game off as well. And then they have for Minnesota, they have the offensive tackle. I forget. I cannot pronounce his name at all.
Yeah,
Daniel
Falele.
I'm gonna go with that. He's like 6'9", if I'm not mistaken, 370 pounds, big physical guy, 380 via the Minnesota website, Minnesota team roster. 380 pounds, 6'9", left tackle. That's you don't see that every day. You do not see that every day. So
Mekhi Becton, Evan Neal. I mean, he's like maybe he's a poor man's Evan Neal. I mean, Evan Neal's without question, in my opinion, the best offensive tackle in this group.
Yes, absolutely.
And he's the number one player on Bruce Feldman's freak list.
Mm-hmm.
And hidden in all of it is Boy Mafi from Minnesota, the defensive end.
Yes.
He's number 17 on Bruce Feldman's freak list. And I pulled it up. I kind of went quiet there, but he's up to 265. He had 4.5 sacks last year through the 6 games, but his weight room numbers are what obviously puts him up there on that list. He's got a vertical jump of 40.5 inches, a broad jump of 10.6. He runs the 40 at 4.57, and he power cleans 400 pounds. So I haven't really watched the kid, but I will say this. If he's as good as advertised there, he could make a statement tonight against an offensive line that is good, but I don't think it's as good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Thayer Munford's probably the one player that everybody circles to on that offensive line from last year and moving forward. But Boy Mafi from Minnesota, man, I mean, if those numbers are true, he could make a statement tonight. And we've seen it where guys in these big games come out and they make like 3-4 sacks. So I don't know. What I'm most curious with Ohio State, beyond all of the players that we've talked about, Master Teague, and I was looking up his numbers as well on the freak list. And I can give those real fast, 5'11", 225, 40 inches in the vertical jump, broad jump of 11 feet, a 4.35 40 is what he's been clocked at.
Mm-hmm.
And in his career, he's got almost 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns. So, and actually 3 of his 4 touchdowns last year went for 40 yards or more. So Master Teague, while he doesn't seem fast between the tackles, he is. And that's your point to what you've said numerous times on our show is play speed. The kid's got play speed. Obviously, there's track speed there. But when you watch his play speed, you're like, well, he doesn't look that fast. But it's like your first time on varsity football. You step out there and you're like, okay, this is a lot faster than I'm used to. You know what I mean? So it's like that when you watch Master Teague, and I'm sure defenses feel the same way. But my biggest question, going back to my point, what's this secondary like for Ohio State? No more Shaun Wade. I mean, he wasn't great last year by any means, but he's gone. And the thing that has, I think, separated them is that they've always had a consistent back seven. I don't know if we're going to get that this year. Maybe we will. I mean, am I missing somebody in this back seven that could really step up and make some plays? Because we know offensively between Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, they might have the best 1-2 punch at wide receiver in the country.
The name for that I'm watching in the back end for Ohio State is Sevyn Banks, 6'1", 200, true senior. Right now he is one of the top. He's one of the top cornerbacks on a lot of pre-list rankings for awards, especially. Like you said, no more Shaun Wade. Like the floor is his, in my opinion. And this is a game where he can come out and go ahead and stake his claim as one of the better cornerbacks. Because you've seen it. Anybody that follows me on Twitter has seen it. This class that we're about to experience is so heavy defensively, especially in the defensive backfield. There's a plethora of safeties, plethora of corners that really catch my eye. So it's like, really tonight is his coming out party, And for him, especially if Chris Auden-Bell does play, I think I saw a tweet earlier saying he wasn't 100%, whatnot. So if he does play, I'm expecting him to see a lot of Banks, and this is Banks coming out party to say, hey, I'm one of the better cornerbacks in this class. Let's go, because he has the length, the weight, the physical traits and tools. Now it's just, okay, where's the technique? Where's his processing? Where's his mental game? Because at the end of the day, we all know it doesn't really matter how athletic you are, how strong you are, how physical you are. If you don't see it, if you don't know it well, you're not going to produce.
No, yeah, you're right. And I mean, I'm glad you bring him up because he's going to get some help from his front seven as well, right? Like Haskell Garrett's up there, Zach Harrison. I mean,
freak.
Some people, I think some people are listing Haskell Garrett as probably the top defensive tackle in this group for this year. Zach Harrison near the top of the edge rushers. And maybe it's more so pick your flavor. I like Kayvon Thibodeau, but some people might be like, nah, I like Zach Harrison a little bit more. There's maybe a little bit more to work with, or maybe you like, how explosive he is off the football compared. Again, I wouldn't make that argument, but to each their own. It's like ice cream. Pick your flavor. But right. Zach Harrison, we talk about the kid from Minnesota that could have that coming out party. We say Sevyn Banks could have that coming out party. Zach Harrison might be that next edge rusher out of Ohio State that really puts himself on the map. And I bring that up because both these kids have been in this system for a while, and they have one of the best, if not the best, defensive line coaches in the country in Larry Johnson. And Larry Johnson does a tremendous job getting these defensive linemen where they need to be and doing what they need to do. So I think between everything that we've talked about, the duo there in that front seven is going to make maybe the biggest difference tonight because of just what they can do in preventing Minnesota from even moving the football, whether it's passing or running. I mean, if that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't make sense, but
no, you're right. I'm with you, and that's why, like you said, going back to even to Sevyn Banks, looking because for me, I think one of the main things I want to see from him is can he consistently play man coverage? Because when I watched him, shout out to Mr. Diggs, when I watched him, he seemed like more of a cover 3 corner. And now when you mentioned the pass rush starts to get to Tanner Morgan. What's that going to do? Allow him, while he's in that cover 3's, the cover 3 responsibility, he can start to squat and sit on routes and start to make plays. Jump on some of these shoulder routes, maybe take one back to the house. And like I said, make that true name for himself. He's a former 4-star recruit. So coming out of high school into college, he was highly touted. Scouts wanted him, schools wanted him. So again, I want to see if he can stay sticky at the top of the route. It's one thing to be sticky at the release point and 2-3 yards into the stem. But when they get to the top of that route with the receiver, can you still be in his hip pocket? And then again, for a longer corner, I want to see fluidity in his hips. One thing about taller corners, they're typically a little more tight-hipped. So, and their footwork's a little slower than, you look at a guy like Denzel Ward with the Browns, really, quick, twitchy guy. So I want to see kind of from an athletic standpoint, just where is Sevyn Banks this season?
Yeah, and I don't know, man. It's going to be so much fun to watch. And I think when we look back at previous years of the draft and our off seasons and whatever, is how many times you watch like Alabama versus Georgia, right? Because there's so many prospects. Here, kind of the same thing. Like we could probably watch Ohio State, Minnesota 5, 6, 7 times because of just how many prospects are actually in this game. And we're getting it on pretty much the opening night of college football. I mean, it's awesome. It's unbelievable. And we're going to get the same thing maybe tomorrow as well, and as well as on Saturday, and just kind of moving over to Friday, because that's the beauty of this week. We have football basically every day for the next couple of days, like you mentioned. Friday, though, is just as awesome. I mean, North Carolina Va Tech is the one that's kicking us off at 6 p.m. I mean, I don't know how this isn't like an 8 o'clock game, but how are you not tuning in on this game? There's so much star power from Sam Howell at quarterback, who might be the best quarterback in the country to some people. Then you've got Lecitus Smith on the interior offensive line for Va Tech, Brock Hoffman, their center. I mean, this game is going to be, I think it's going to be really good, and I wouldn't be surprised if Va Tech potentially pulls off an upset as well.
No, yeah, definitely. And there's a couple prospects, if I'm not mistaken, that I have saved into the cover one in my article for tomorrow, which I'll finish when we get off of this show. But another name for that Ohio State game, I almost forgot about my guy at the tight end position, Jeremy Ruckert, 6'5", 250.
My boy, yeah.
Yeah, vertical. He's a vertical threat, good on the shallow crossers, as well as the deep crossers also. And we saw, remember, against Clemson, watching Justin Fields target him in the red zone, strong-handed, great, hand-eye coordination, just a great feel in space. And before that game, he wasn't well known to Twitter and a lot of draft Twitter and just the draft world for those that were looking forward to this draft. But now I think, thinking about the fact that PJ Fleck and that defense, they're going to come out and say, okay, listen, we know who the biggest dogs on the field are. That's Chris Olave, and that's Garrett Wilson. So now what do? You try to take them away from the game. Having a young quarterback, granted, it's college, so it's sometimes college offenses don't use their tight ends as much as they should. Because come on, what's the biggest mismatch on the offense right now in the world of football? It's the tight end position. You have tight ends that can do literally anything now. You can detach them from the line of scrimmage. You can put them out wide at the X, in the slot, in bunch. You can do whatever you want with a lot of these tight ends, right? We just saw a tight end go top 5, in the draft. We just saw Kyle Pitts go
first time since Vernon Davis.
Exactly. So Jeremy Ruckert may have a lot of space to work between the hashes because of the fact that that PJ Fleck and company, they're going to key in on those talented wideouts. Don't get beat deep, guys. Let's keep 2 safeties back. That also will open up, again, Travion Henderson and Master Teague in the run game. That's the game. I'm so excited to see this game, to see how I love PJ Fleck as a coach. Still don't really understand how you pick Tanner Morgan over Trey Lance, but hey, I'm not gonna nitpick. But there's still something that makes me scratch my head some days. I'm just like, okay, Rashad Bateman, Tyler Johnson, Muhammad Abraham, that offensive line, Trey Lance would have done work.
I'm with you there, but I think it was more so like loyalty over anything else, because I think Tanner Morgan was one of the first kids that probably signed with him as he flipped over to Minnesota, because I don't think Tanner Morgan was going to Minnesota, if I remember correctly. I wrote about it over at cover1.net like 2 years ago. I wrote about his whole kind of journey and how he's been taking advantage of a lot of the opportunities at that time because he played really well down the stretch. Yeah. And I can't remember, he was going to Western. And yeah, that's it. He was going to Western and he flipped to Minnesota once Fleck went, which makes sense. But I think it's more so just loyalty over everything else. Hey, this kid's willing to flip his entire college career to where I'm going. I love this kid. So I don't know. I'm with you though. I mean, I would have taken Trey Lance. But obviously the game that I'm most intrigued about this weekend is Friday night, Michigan State, Northwestern, 9:00, Big Ten Network. No big deal, or ESPN, excuse me. But, I mean, Brandon Joseph, he's a dog, Northwestern. I mean, I'm going to root against him on Friday. But if it wasn't for Kyle Hamilton, and I think you tweeted this out, if it wasn't for Kyle Hamilton, Brandon Joseph would be the top safety in this group. And he still might be. I mean, he is talented.
Listen, it's just watching him. It's crazy how good this kid is, man. And the wild thing about it is just watching him from a physical standpoint. He's not the biggest guy, right? He's kind of lean and slender build, but watching him fill the lane in the run game, good one. And that's a big part that I think a lot of people don't know. When it comes down to run fits, it's not just a front seven thing. It's an entire defense thing. Everyone has their assignment in run fit. Corners, their edge, they're the force player on the edge. Make sure nothing gets wider than them. They force things back on the inside. Safeties come down and act as though it's extra. For one, they're the last line of defense in the past. But when you see a running back approaching the line of scrimmage and he's getting into the second level, that's where that safety in the I always talk. I talk about in the alley. I love to see running backs win in the alley, but I like to see safeties because you're the last line of defense. And if and as a running back, if I can put a move on you, break you down and get around you, I'm going home. I'm going to the house. I'm taking it home. I'm taking it 80. And that's the big thing. And he does that well. He tackles with good technique as well. Good sound technique. He's a good hitter, but his ball skills in the back end.
I was just going to say that. Yep.
That's where he's going to make his money at. And he's intelligent, high football IQ. I really like this kid, man.
I'm with you. I think when I look at this group, it reminds me of the draft a couple years back of Justin Reed and that group that Jesse Bates was in that group as well, of just a lot of those guys went second, third round. And now they're some of the best defensive backs in football because of their ball skills, because of how they play in the alley. And Brandon Joseph is going to be that guy. Like I'm very happy that my football team that I root for every Sunday has 2 first-round picks, because somewhere in the back end of the first round, they could potentially steal this guy because, Kyle Hamilton might go in the top 10, top 15. Brandon Joseph might as well. But ultimately, like, he should be a first-round pick. Just the way he has played throughout the course of his career, he just seems like he's got that edge to be one of the top defensive backs in the entire class, if not the top defensive back. And like you said, you mentioned his ball skills. How he can – I don't understand how sometimes he looks defeated and then in midair he gets a hand on the football or he comes up with an interception. Like, I don't understand how he's reading offenses so well and so – like, he's just so fluid with everything he does that I love his skill set. I'm obviously terrified tomorrow because I'm afraid, like, Anthony Russo might throw 3 picks, but at the same time, like, I believe in my team. And really, with Michigan State, I mean, the player to watch is Jaden Reed, the wide receiver, because the kid's got speed for days. He can be a return man. He transferred from Western, and he's been just really kind of a highlight reel for Michigan State. So if he can stay healthy, then he should certainly be somebody to pay attention to and for tomorrow. So I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. It'll probably be like 24-20 or something, but it'll be a fun one. I can't wait. But is there another game for tomorrow that you're really paying attention to? I know we kind of hit on the 2 big ones with Vodtech, North Carolina, Michigan State, Northwestern. I don't think there's much bigger than those 2. Obviously, the big games are really on Saturday, which we're going to jump into in a moment.
Yeah, I want to throw out a name for tonight for people to watch when you're watching. I mean, if you're a late night type of person on the Pac-12 network, you got Arizona State taking on Southern Utah. It just depends on how long they play their starters. But running back Rashad White, 6'2", 202, explosive home run hitter. Like, he's just elusive at open field, great vertical cutter. I really like him. He offers some, I really want to see them throw the ball to him, line him up out wide, get him against some of these linebackers, use him as a chess piece that he is. And I really think he is a guy that can make some, just kind of make some money starting off this season. And I think, let me make sure I got the right kid and make sure he's the right school. Yes, Colorado. Tomorrow night, Colorado faces Northern Colorado. I didn't know there was a Northern Colorado. But
you didn't know that?
Nah, not a chance. I knew Colorado State, though. They play tomorrow night as well. But Colorado also on the Pac-12 network tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Running back, he really popped up onto the scene for me when I was kind of watching different running backs. I found so many running backs this summer. Jarek Broussard, like I said, for Colorado. To me, from a physical build, he's 5'9", 185. He kind of looks like Myles Gaskins, but he runs to me with a little bit more oomph, a little more power. He's got a strong lower body. He suffered a knee injury, I think, that kept him out all 2019. He does not have a third gear, though. That's the one thing about it. Mm-hmm. He's got a good second gear. I believe it was against Arizona last year. He had, if I'm not mistaken, I know it was over 200 yards rushing. He had 3 rushes over 50 yards. Russ, he didn't score in either one of them. He was walked down each time.
What?
Yes. Yeah. So he does not have a third gear, but he is a good running back, especially inside zone. Get him out in the perimeter, let him run between the tackles and get skinny. Use his height as his advantage, being 5'9", kind of hide behind those big boys on the front lines. So definitely watch out for him as well. But let's get into a few of these Saturday games.
We will most definitely do that. I do want to mention one name for tonight. Our boy out of Western Kentucky, Deangelo Malone. The kid's kind of skinny, got that skinny frame, but he's got length. He's got a pretty good get off. And if he can get you in the open field, or not in the open field, but if he can get a clear path to the quarterback, he is going to light that kid up. And I know you posted a video about it. I posted that same video like last winter or something, and it got no tread whatsoever. Nobody even liked it or anything. But he's got some skills. Game to watch tonight if you're in a ESPN Plus or something. Yeah, if Ohio State Minnesota becomes a blowout, turn on Deangelo Malone and we'll see what happens. But yeah, we got Saturday, and Penn State Wisconsin's the game to really kick it off as far as one of the big games on Saturday. It's a noon kickoff on Fox. Obviously on ABC you can turn on and watch QB1 Spencer Rattler against Tulane with Oklahoma. But I mean, I'm going to be really paying attention to the Big Ten, obviously, because I live in the country that is Big Ten, and Penn State, Wisconsin. How do you not turn that on, right? Like Penn State is just so talented. with everything that they've had over the last couple of years. We've seen so many different players from Saquon Barkley, and you see where this team was going. I think they're a bit overrated at times, especially with their coach and everything else. But this is the game that I'm going to pay attention to the most. You got one that you're going to pay attention to?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I want to highlight a quick player, Temple versus Rutgers. One guy that I'm looking at is wide receiver Jaden Blue. I like what I saw from him. Give you all three levels. What I'm saying? As a receiver, he can, catch the short route. He's a crafty route runner, especially out of the slot. He gives you the inside-outside versatility. And I just saw one of the comments. It just caught my eye for a second. I don't have a third gear either. Says fear of the rain. Shout out to you, bro. Listen, hey, back in the day I did. I don't know if I have it anymore. I don't know if I have that third gear anymore. But we'll see. As I get back in the tip-top shape this fall, we'll see where I am. But Jaden Blue, man, I'm really excited to see him. Like I said, just this wide receiver group in totality, really right now, is a lot of smoke, a lot of dust. You don't really know. Nothing's clear. There's no clear path. Last year it was either Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, or Jamar Chase. You had those are the top three, right? And that's how they fell in the draft. There's no true consensus right now. Some people love Traylon Burks, some love Garrett Wilson, some love Chris Olave. I've seen different names pop up. And so I really want to see what Jaden Blue is able to do tomorrow, I think Saturday. But the game, listen, and I tweeted it out, man. Georgia and Clemson. Like, as a young man born and raised in the South, like this is, and I tweeted out the 2013 game. Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins, Todd Gurley and Chris Conley going to war, just score for score, back and forth. The infamous slant, kind of back before arm angles was really even a thing. Taj Boyd slings the slant with the sidearm to Sammy Watkins on the slant. He runs over a safety and it takes it to the house. Like, I'm a DJ Uliungalele, JT, the quarterback battle there. Zamir White and those boys in the backfield for Georgia, man, like it. And Georgia's defense is loaded as well, right? Good defense. Now they're replacing some starters in the back end, and so against DJ Uliungalele, who's getting Justin Ross back as well, that's going to be tough to handle. So I'm excited to see. I think I keep saying Breeze, but it's Breezy, the defensive interior defensive lineman for Clemson. I think he's going to create some havoc as well. So that's the game for me that I'm really, really going to be tuned into. There's just a couple other games, but that's the game that really has my eye.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Going back to the Penn, I'll join in on all that in a second. But going back to Penn State and Wisconsin, I was waiting for my notes to refresh. But the players that obviously I'm paying attention to start, and I think he's getting completely overlooked. I said this last year as well, and I tried getting him on the podcast. It didn't end up happening. Our schedules didn't mesh. But Ellis Brooks, the linebacker, he's a redshirt senior, 6'1", 240. This kid can lay some lumber, man. He comes out and he hits hard, and I don't know what it is with him, like how somebody that he doesn't look that big on film, but there are times that he just is in great position, great form, and he makes it count. He'll get overlooked again this year because Brandon Smith, their other linebacker, it gets a lot of love. He's 6'3", 240. A lot of people love his length and his versatility of being able to rush the passer and being in the middle. But this defense loses Micah Parsons, and there's going to be a big hole in the middle of the defense now. And I know Parsons didn't play, but here you are. I mean, Ellis Brooks and Brandon Smith in the middle of his defense against Wisconsin is going to be key because we all know what Wisconsin likes to do. I formation, 22 personnel, running the football, doing whatever it takes, all of it. But I think that those two kids right there are potential studs. And then if you want to feel old, how about Joey Porter Jr. at corner? This kid 6'2", 192. Really good length. Played pretty good last year. He started in 8 games. He had 33 tackles. He had 4 pass breakups as well. So I think with the length with him on the outside, he's going to match up pretty well. And he comes from that football background, right? So you can't really question his IQ or the overall pedigree that he has. So I think defensively, Penn State's got some players. Again, Sean Clifford's been a part of this team for, it feels like, a decade now. And I don't know if he's really going to do much other than probably choke in big moments later in the year, because that's just what he does. And that's what he does with his head coach, because James Franklin's incredibly overrated. But when you look over to the Wisconsin side, there isn't a Jonathan Taylor on this team anymore. There isn't some of the star power that we've seen. But 2 players, Jake Ferguson, their tight end, he might get a little overlooked this year, but they've produced some pretty good tight ends over the past. I mean, Troy Fumagalli was a Senior Bowl invite a couple years ago. I think he was recently let go from I can't remember what team he's on, but he was let go. He's probably on a practice squad, obviously, somewhere. But then the other one is linebacker Jack Sanborn. I think that this kid, with a shortened season last year, he was pretty productive. He had almost 60 tackles, and I think going into this year, he could potentially be one of the top linebackers in the Big Ten, just because of his overall skill set. And he's familiar with this defense. He's familiar with everything that's around him, and he is, to me, probably their best defender. Maybe I'm missing something. I'd have to reach out to my resident Badger, Owen Reese, my good buddy, and see if I'm missing a name defensively. But Jack Sanborn, the linebacker, is the guy that I'm going to watch the most for their defense. But going over to the other game, I mean, you mentioned Clemson. Man, I'm so pumped for this game. Like, I feel like a kid, like on Christmas morning, you know what I mean? Like, or on Christmas Eve, because it's just got like that big time feel of what college football is supposed to be. It feels almost like that big time bowl game that we all love. And I mean, Georgia's got my guy Zamir White, but Clemson's obviously, they're making all the changes, right? Offensively, yeah. There is no more Travis Etienne. There is no more Trevor Lawrence. So we have no idea how exactly this team is going to look, but you have to think they're going to be pretty good. And I would have to think that they could potentially win this game by more than 3 points, which is what the spread is on this game.
No, this game, you know, and the crazy thing about it is you have, which you rarely ever see, a guy transferring from just such a powerful school in Clemson to go to another school that's it's not as successful, but we know that they're a great school in Georgia. Darian Kendrick, the cornerback, you know, he transferred from Clemson to go to Georgia. I think there was some off the field stuff or something like that was going on, but that's going to be intriguing too, because he's going to be going up against the guys he saw in practice. You know, Justin Ross and those receivers. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be an intriguing matchup just to see how, because again, I believe it's Tyke Smith, I think is the young man's name, the safety that Georgia has now. I think he's also a transfer. I believe he transferred from West Virginia. Yes, he did. So he was a finalist for the Jim Thorpe Award back in 2020. He gives you that kind of that star role, right? That starting nickel and safety type of versatility. So, like I said, that back end is going to be a little revamped. And we saw in 2 games, to me, I view DJ as a special prospect when he does come out. This is his first year as a starter. He played those 2 games last year. He's 1-1, mainly because the defense just couldn't stop a nosebleed at times, because I think they were hit with COVID, you know, because that's why Trevor Lawrence was out those 2 games. But I think him getting, you know, not just getting his feet wet in games late in the game, but having 2 games as a starter to game plan, to watch the tape, to know this is my huddle for 2 weeks. I think that did a great job for him. And now coming into Saturday night, I think DJ is going to be primed and ready to not to say Trevor Lawrence who, but to put that ghost of Trevor Lawrence, just put that ghost behind him. Like, I am the future for at least another year.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Prove that you are the guy. No need to live in the shadows of somebody that is no longer there. And I get it, right? Trevor Lawrence should probably have some type of statue or something just because of how much he won. at that school and what he's brought to that school. But I'm with you there. Also, defensively for Clemson, can we just talk a minute about some of the players that they have defensively? Andrew Booth, the corner, a lot of people love him. Some people think he could be the top corner when it's all said and done, just because there's that type of upside with him. But I mean, I don't think we'll talk about him in this year's draft. Myles Murphy, their defensive end, but they're starting to get that front seven back that they had a couple years ago that we saw with like Christian Wilkins and Dexter Lawrence and Cleveland Farrell and all that stuff. You bring in Myles Murphy into the mix. I mean, he had 10.5 tackles for loss last year, 4 sacks. He's got great length. He's got that blend of speed and power. He understands the speed to power of the game and all of that. And I just think Myles Murphy is really a difference maker, where so much is won in the trenches in these types of games with Clemson and Georgia. Obviously, we always see these design screens, right? Speed to the outside and all of that stuff. But some of that speed might be gone now for Clemson. Amari Rodgers is no longer there. Cornell Powell is no longer there. So again, we mentioned their offense looking different, but this game could be won in the hands of the Clemson defense. And just off of, Myles Murphy, Andrew Booth Jr., Jake Venables, Balin Spector, the other linebacker there, it feels like he's been there for quite a few years. I mean, he's been there since 2017 or 2018. So they've got some players on their defense that I think can just make a difference. And I'm not saying Georgia doesn't, right? Adam Anderson, their edge rusher, getting a lot of love so far this summer, maybe is better than Azeez Ojulari. I don't know how you feel about that. I was a big Azeez Ojulari guy, regardless of what whatever the hits say, I don't care. But Adam Anderson could also have a big debut on Saturday as well to really be one of the top edge rushers in the country.
Yo, absolutely, and he's a man. Like just watching him, long arms, explosive off the edge. Like I said, he's 6'5", 230, can bend. He's not a traditional 4-down player just yet. He's more of a sub package guy, kind of rotate, guy that DPR. But I really like his ability to get after the passer. He can dip and rip, use the long straight arm to pretty much throw off the leverage of the offensive tackles. And again, he's got that explosive first step, and he's got a nice little kind of inside move. He stabs outside, kind of rips back inside. Once his speed is causing the offensive tackle to overset and jump set, I really am excited to see what he's able to do, because again, DJ, if he gets time back there, he's going to shred them. Like, I really believe he's going to shred, that Georgia secondary if he has too much time back there. So Anderson's going to play a big role of making sure that does not happen.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And look, that game, I'm with you there. I mean, I'm super pumped for Penn State, Wisconsin, but like, that's the game when you really look at it, you just get so giddy. And there's so many games, right? Like we're 50 minutes into this broadcast, and I think we could sit here for another 5 hours and literally go game by game by game. But I'm going to just throw another game out there, because why not? LSU and UCLA is one of those games. 8:30 Fox. All the night games are going to be a blast. LSU, obviously, they're so different from where they were 2 years ago with Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. But UCLA put a stomping on Hawaii, who might be straight booty. I think that's probably a fair assessment of that team.
That's a fair assessment.
But Zach, Charbonnet came out and ran like a maniac, and he looked fantastic. Mm-hmm. And you wrote about it. And I mean, UCLA, I don't think is necessarily a great football team by any means. I mean, I would be surprised if they were like 11-1 when this was all said and done. But at the same time, anything can happen in the landscape of college football. And when you look at the spread of this game, 2.5, that tells me Vegas thinks UCLA might be a little bit better than anybody's really thinking, or LSU just isn't as good as we all think. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking on this game. I'm pumped to watch Charbonnet and Britton Brown, but the floor is yours on this one, because there's so much to get into defensively with LSU. And I'm probably going to steal your thunder, Derek Stingley, who is the consensus top corner right now in the country.
Absolutely. Like it to me, it's not really much of a debate, but defensively for LSU, the two names I'm looking for and I'm watching: Mike Jones Jr., the transfer from Clemson, 6'2" to 234. At Clemson, he played more outside linebacker, so kind of watching just his development and his level of comfort playing more inside linebacker, where, of course, as I tweeted today talking about keys for linebackers, reading the keys is a little bit different when you're playing inside than rather on the outside as more of a run and chase type of linebacker on the perimeter. And then Jordan Tolles, 6'2", 203, sophomore safety, talented kid, rangy in the back end, can play that single high center fielder. So I want to see how he comes out, because at the end of the day, LSU has the athletes defensively to corral DTR. DTR struggled. We both watched the all 22 of their offense from against Hawaii. There were throws, there were passes, there were plays to be made in the passing game. I don't know if he was just a little too amped. It was just, week one, week 0, but week 1 for them. He was kind of airmailing some, overthrowing his guys. He just seemed a little too jacked for the game, right? So let's see if Chip Kelly can get him into a more calm state where he comes out. He's more cerebral. He's more just from a mental aspect. He's on his game. And then, of course, Zach Charbonnet. Mike Jones is going to have to play a big role in keeping Zach Charbonnet from looking like Bo Jackson the way he did last week against Hawaii. That's going to be a huge key. And, of course, Byron Stingley. Right now, Bruce Feldman had him listed as a cornerback, receiver, and kick returner. So I think we're going to see kind of a Patrick Peterson type of season from Byron Stingley, which would be very exciting. I haven't checked out his high school reel with him playing receiver, but I heard he was nice at the receiver position. So, and from what I read as well, he's a sub 4.4 guy. I think it's 4.30, 4.34, somewhere in there. So he's got the long speed. So if he does take those kick returns and he gets a crease and you don't close in on him, he's got the speed to take it to the house. So that is something I'm definitely watching for. And then seeing how they handle Dose, or I can't pronounce that tight end name for UCLA. That's one guy I can't pronounce. But seeing if him and DTR can get on the same page. Sean Ryan, the left tackle for UCLA, one of the name that rose a lot this all season in regard to offensive tackles. Just seeing him against that front four over there in LSU, that's going to be a fun. It's so many games within the game, so many matchups to key in and watch for.
No doubt, and I mean, watching UCLA, watching the All 22 Monday, Tuesday from the weekend. I'll be honest, Alec Anderson, the UCLA right tackle, really caught my eye. There was a couple reps where he looked just pretty fluid on his feet. He hit a couple of snatch trap techniques and really looked the part as a right tackle. And I knew Sean Ryan was getting that buzz. But you mentioned these individual matchups in every single game. Well, Ali Gay, the edge rusher from LSU, he's a JUCO transfer, and he's only been in the U.S. for 10 years. He had 6 batted balls last year, and I think with his length, some of his explosiveness, he another one of those edge rushers. We've talked about it so many times with the edge rushers in this class, from Zach Harrison to Kayvon Thibodeau. Ali Gay is going to be another one of those guys, and he's going to match up against Ryan and Anderson, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does. To your point of Stingley, though, on the highlight tape, if you find it, be sure to send it over to me, because I'm curious if it looks something like a Bishop Sycamore or something like that, because the one of that quarterback running wild from that fake high school is incredible, and that whole story is incredible. I can't wait for that 30 for 30 that drops on ESPN one day, of just how ridiculous that whole story really became. But no, man, it's going to be a ton of fun looking at all of these games all weekend long. We're going to be tweeting it out left and right. Anything else you want to add? I think, I'm pretty good. I've gone through all of my notes of the players I want to talk about. I want to save some of it for next week and save some of it for some written content. And obviously I want to save it for Twitter, which you guys, of course, can find us on Twitter at Russ NFL Draft, at DP_NFL. But anything else you got for me?
Man, looking at the schedule.
There's so many names.
There's so many names. I got a shot at my running backs. Tyler Algier over in BYU. He has a new quarterback who is more mobile than Zach Wilson. So I'm expecting to see maybe some more RPOs, some read option type of play calling. And this is his season where I think he will be not just a lead back because he was a lead back last year, but that offense ran through Zach Wilson. Now teams are going to kind of key in more on him to slow him down in that zone running scheme. That he's a one-cut runner, physical, big, nice, sturdy, thick frame up top, but he's got long speed as well. Good feet as a one-cut runner, good spatial awareness, and good feel for what's going on. I'm excited to see what he's able to do. So he's one of my guys. Like this running back class is more talented than people really know. So I'm really excited to see what he's able to do. And, of course, I got to shout out one of my favorite quarterbacks in this class. He's got, I mean, no disrespect to Campbell, but he's got a cakewalk. Malik Willis, Liberty, 6 o'clock, ESPN 3. They're going against Campbell University. I want to see him throw for 400 yards in the first half and just relax and, set the world on fire.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, I think, like I said, we could be here for hours upon hours talking prospects, breaking it down. I'm not going to lie. Part of me wanted to open up another tab and get the shared screen going and breaking down some prospects when we were talking Minnesota.
Well, we have a lot of time for that, brother.
Yeah, we will get to that for sure. And, of course, you guys can get all of it right here on Cover One, the NFL Draft Podcast. You can find it on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Download us and put us into the mix of what you listen to on a daily basis. And of course, you get our live shows every single week here on YouTube. It's going to be an every week thing where we're still kind of figuring out what day works the best. It might be a Monday night type of thing in the future. As of right now, we're looking at Saturday mornings. We're talking maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, somewhere in there where you can get us every single week right before the kickoff of every college football game and of every single week. We did it a little bit early on a sporadic Thursday night edition just because I'm going out of town Saturday morning. And I don't know if we'll necessarily get a show in. So I don't want to say, hey, let's do a show, and then we end up not doing the show. So maybe we will. I don't know on Saturday. We'll see. If I can get things set up according to plan on Saturday, we'll be good. But if not, I mean, it's Thursday. Enjoy the games tonight, obviously. Be sure, though, of course, to take advantage now before we close up shop. Be sure to take advantage of Underdog Fantasy. All of our shows are presented by Underdog Fantasy. You can find them on Twitter at Underdog Fantasy. You can go to their website you can go to their website, underdogfantasy.com. Again, it's the most innovative platform for all of your fantasy sports needs. New users, if you haven't used it yet, sign up today. You get a free $25. All you got to do, use the promo code COVER1. So go ahead, do so now, sign up, get that free $25. And like I said, add us to your podcast assortment of whatever you listen to, from crime podcast to true crime to fantasy podcast to this. Be sure to put us into the mix. And then, of course, smash the follow button on Twitter at Russ NFL Draft, at DP_NFL. DP, my man, I appreciate you coming out, as always, joining me on a week one edition of the show.
Brother, listen, I'm so excited. We talked about this a while ago before everything came into fruition. I was excited about this. This is our time to shine. Shout out to, hey man, I think Mr. Diggs may be my favorite guy on YouTube. He's always here with us. Right? Thank you. Appreciate you, brother. But yeah, definitely, like I said, man, a lot of football, a lot of content coming. Stay tuned to cover1.net. We have a lot of written content coming. And like I said on Twitter, I'll have my 5 best performances of each college football season. Basically a list called Dame's Dudes that I'll be highlighting on Mondays. So stay tuned for all of that.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I might drop something tomorrow. I don't know. It depends on if I really feel like it or not. But my Matt Corral breakdown of some throws by him will be coming as well. And don't go too far, because we're going to be doing some running back stuff this fall. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be mixing and matching. And your boy over here might sprinkle in a little tight end stuff, because I don't know. We'll talk about that off air, and when we present it, you'll love it. But guys, appreciate it. Week one is about to get going. It's going on 7 o'clock. So enjoy Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday and Monday. Have a great Labor Day. Until next time, this is Cover One, the NFL Draft.